Okay, 8.2. We're still graphing quadratic functions. This may look a little different. We still have f of x equals x squared. Now we're adding plus c. Okay, so well I can say ax squared because we can throw it in there. Now we're adding plus c. So let's start with our base function. Let's start f of x equals x squared. Okay, that's what we talked about in 8.1. Now we're adding a number out front. Let's say f of x equals x squared plus 1. What'll happen there? And notice our vertex changed. Our vertex went up to 1. It shifted up one spot. What do you think will happen when we say f of x equals x squared plus 5? And our vertex, again, it changes. The graph is going up and our vertex is at 5. What if we said f of x equals x squared plus 7? Again, our vertex went even higher. Good. Okay, let's go less than 0. Let's go f of x equals x squared minus 1. And notice, we still have a parabola going up, our vertex went to negative 1. Let's say f of x equals x squared minus 3. And then one more. What do you think will happen when we say f of x equals x squared minus 5? And it went down even further. Good. Let's talk a negative parabola. So let's say f of x equals negative x squared. Okay, so there's our basic negative parabola. It's going down here, right? Now let's say f of x equals negative x squared plus 2. And our vertex went up to positive 2. It's still that negative parabola, so we have that negative out in front of the x. But our vertex went up 2. And let's say negative x squared minus 3. Where's that going to be? And it's going to be lower than our negative x squared. And our vertex is at negative 3. One more here. Let's say negative x squared minus 1. Where's that going to be? Which two graphs is that going to be in between? Is that going to be in between our blue and green or our green and black? It's going to be in between our green and black graph. Awesome. Let's throw a number in front of x squared now. So let's start with our f of x equals x squared. There's our basic graph, our positive parabola. Now let's say f of x equals 2x squared, right? Is that going to be skinnier or wider than our normal graph? It's going to be skinnier because it's a bigger number. Now let's say plus 1. F of x equals 2x squared plus 1. Okay, so our vertex went up. Our graph got skinnier and our graph went up. What if we said 2x squared minus 1? So that's skinnier graph, but our vertex went to negative 1. Let's throw a bigger number into x squared. Let's say f of x equals 4x, or let's say 8x squared. A really skinny graph here. Now let's add plus 10. We have that skinny graph and our vertex went up to 10. Where do you think this next graph will be? If we said f of x equals 8x squared plus 7, will that be in between the graphs or outside the graphs? It should be right in between those two graphs. Awesome. And now let's throw a negative number. Let's say negative 3x squared. Okay, so still a skinnier graph. Now it's going down because we have that negative parabola. Now let's say plus 3. Okay. Where's this next graph going to be? If I said negative 3x squared minus 5, where's that going to be? Is that going to be inside the graphs or outside the graphs? And it's going to be down below that negative 3x squared. Our vertex is at negative 5. Good. Now let's talk domain and range. And vertex and axis of symmetry. So we still have x squared, and let's just say plus 2. Okay? What is our vertex here? Our vertex, because it's not at 0, 0 anymore. Our vertex is at our lowest point. And it should be 0, 2. Okay, how about our axis of symmetry? Our axis of symmetry, does that change? It doesn't. That's still going right down the middle. Okay? How about domain? Our domain is all x numbers. And notice this is going up to the left and up to the right, to negative infinity and positive infinity. So this is actually all real numbers. Okay. We can abbreviate this by just saying R. All real numbers. Okay. How about our range? Has our range changed? Yes, it has. Okay, because notice our range is all these numbers. And so everything above 2. So y is greater than or equal to 2. Okay. What if we had negative x squared plus 2? What changes with our vertex, domain, and range then? We said negative x squared plus 2. Okay, so now we're looking at this black graph down here. Our vertex. Our vertex hasn't changed. Where's our vertex? At the highest point. It's still at 0, 2, so that hasn't changed. Our domain, down to the left, down to the right, to negative infinity and positive infinity, so that's all real numbers. What's our range? Our range is what I'm coloring in here. Okay, and where does y start? It starts at 2, so good there, but is it greater than or equal to 2 or less than or equal to 2? It should be less than or equal to 2.